frontrunner for the Supreme Court seat vacancy that's been opened up after the passing of Ruth Bader Ginsburg at the age of 87 last Friday. And the name that has emerged as a real frontrunner in this Supreme Court, what is a looming Supreme Court battle, is Amy Coney Barrett. So a little bit about Amy Coney Barrett. She is a Notre Dame law professor. She's got no judicial experience, very limited courtroom experience, and she's mostly an academic, a noted hardline conservative with pretty dangerous ideas about the roles of religion and law, reproductive rights, and criminal justice, and more. Good morning, Mark Goldman from Los Angeles. We're talking about Amy Coney Barrett, the frontrunner for the Supreme Court vacancy that has been opened up following the passing of RBG. And this is one of the frontrunners that's emerged, and we know that Donald Trump has projected that the pick will be a woman. So an organization called Alliance for Justice has reviewed Amy Coney Barrett's record and found some alarming things in her record as a judge and as an academic. So if you'll recall, she received a lifetime seat on the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Seventh Circuit by Trump. So she really only came to be a judge through Trump's appointments to the appeals court during his first term. So now she's a frontrunner for the Supreme Court, and it's very important to note that because she has such limited courtroom experience and really no judicial experience, she has really not a lot in terms of what we can look at for her record to try to glean out and suss out maybe her views on certain topics and issues. But what we do know is that Amy Coney Barrett does believe that judges should put their religion ahead of the law. She has taken issue with former Supreme Court Justice William Brennan's view that there isn't any obligation of our faith superior to his oath to uphold the law. So she has written that, quote, she does not defend this position as the proper response for a Catholic judge to take with respect to abortion or the death penalty. What does this ultimately mean? It means that Amy Coney Barrett believes that a judge should have the right to put his or her own religious views above their judicial oath to follow the law, the Constitution, the precedents of the Supreme Court and the courts of appeal. That's pretty wild in the American judiciary. It's unheard of. No one has ever said anything like it. Mark Goldman said, what happened to the separation of church and state that is called for under the Constitution? That's exactly the problem with this kind of reading of constitutional texts. And we see this emerging as an argument, which is really one of the reasons that holding on to the Supreme Court is so important, is this sort of rebuttal arguments to First Amendment freedoms that are afforded to people who are seeking protection from religious discrimination against them, for instance, for the LGBTQ community. Her reading of the Constitution appears to be that she deserves her religious freedom is exercised by putting her religion before her judicial oath. That is my reading of it. I find it very problematic, but it's really unheard of in the American judiciary for a judge to put their own religious beliefs before the Constitution. That's another reason that Amy Coney Barrett is problematic, according to Alliance for Justice, who did a report on some of her most alarming views, is that Amy Coney Barrett believes that judges can ignore precedents. They don't need to rely on precedents. So that's a controversial viewpoint. It's her opinion. It's her opinion that stare decisis, which is a legal doctrine that requires courts to follow precedent, that it's not necessary to subscribe to it. This is really one of the foundational elements of our legal system. But she has repeatedly gone on record to say that judges should be able to ignore precedent if they believe that a case has been decided wrongly. She has written that it's, quote, more legitimate to enforce the, quote, best understanding of the Constitution rather than precedent. If a judge's opinion is that precedent conflicts with the Constitution, so be it. That is extremely alarming. Even more conservative Supreme Court justices like Clarence Thomas have said on the topic that it provides continuity to our system, the concept of stare decisis. It provides predictability, and in our process, by case decision making. This is from Justice Clarence Thomas. He says it's a very important and critical concept. So her view that judges don't need to go along with precedent, historical precedent. Precedent is the decision of cases that came before it. This puts rights and protections established by previous court rulings for labor, for LGBTQ rights, for voting rights, for reproductive rights. This puts us all in jeopardy, because if she does not need to ignore precedent, then if she does not need to follow precedent, if she believes that, then she can overturn Roe versus Wade. She can overturn marriage equality in the Obergefell v. Hodges ruling from just 2015. She can overturn different provisions of the Affordable Care Act or the voting right, any voting rights that were passed through the courts. This is very, very troubling and is also fairly radical. So another thing is that Barrett's confirmation to the Supreme Court will threaten reproductive rights. She's known for her conviction that life begins at conception, which is a really radical idea, and has criticized Roe versus Wade